The Crystal Palace in Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the most interesting things to me because this gigantic space station is essentially Las Vegas in orbit. This place is for the rich, the wealthy, the affluent, where they can go, blow some money on casinos, eat in expensive restaurants, get pissed up in expensive bars. And even though the Crystal Palace is featured in one of the endings for Cyberpunk 2077, extremely briefly, the Crystal Palace is never really actually seen in gameplay. You never go there, you can't go inside of it, there's nothing attached to it, and this has led a lot of people to speculate if this was supposed to be one of the second or third expansions for 2077 that was inevitably canned. So in today's video, what we're going to be doing is actually spawning in the Crystal Palace in Night City. You can do this through a little mod called the Appearance Menu mod, and even though you can spawn the Crystal Palace in, the detail is lacking quite extensively. It's not as detailed as the one seen in the ending. This is the model which is featured through the AMM mod, and you can tell that this model is a load less detailed than the one which we see in the Sun ending. For example, all of these big squares, these big purple rectangles, are basically missing textures. You can find this in a lot of outer bounds areas in Night City. Even a lot of the models are two-dimensional, which is quite interesting. And just generally speaking, on the lower half of this building, there is just not a lot of detail. Hell, there's no shading at all. There's barely any shadows, barely any textures, just kind of like big polygonal shapes. I don't know if this version of the Crystal Palace is a block out because it does lack a hell of a lot of detail, but then again at the same time you can never actually go this up close to the Crystal Palace. If you were to zoom out and actually have a look at it from afar, it doesn't actually look like it's lacking that much detail. Considering in the Sun ending you are probably, you know, way further than this, to be honest with you, but from here it doesn't look too bad, you know, minus the big purple textures. These little rings here are what would be the you know, the interior of this place. These are assumed to be windows where you can look out into space, but there's actually nothing inside of here. And of course it kind of goes without saying that the Crystal Palace is fucking ginormous. I think this is probably the biggest model in Cyberpunk 2077. It just absolutely dwarfs Night City. There is no building in Night City that has this sense of scale. Truly, I'm baffled that the Crystal Palace doesn't actually blow up the red engine. You know, that like the red engine can actually spawn this in and there's basically no you know, performance issues or stuttering or anything like that. But I think the one thing to take from this ultimately is that the Crystal Palace doesn't have an interior, which I think is extremely disappointing. But at the end of the day, this place was never supposed to be used for gameplay. I think a lot of people believed it would have been opened up, or I think space in general would have been opened up for some further expansion, even if CDPR did say that this place was never supposed to be included in 2077. I really hope it will be in Orion, because this place is basically a city. It has the size and the scope of Night City. I think if CDPR were to add it, it would obviously have to be done justice, and it would have to be huge, not some kind of, you know, linear undercooked mission or, you know, segment. It needs to be its own vessel and fully respected like it should be. But anyway, that just about concludes today's video. I hope it was interesting, and I've wanted to do this for a while, so thank you for sticking around. I will also be uploading Fallout content because that previous video got a decent amount of views, like a really good amount of views, so you know, it's healthy branching out. Damn, Daniel! Cheers guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you lot in a bit.